I'll debate anybody that shows up at our campus events first and foremost, but I do want to.
I love that, by the way. Well, I debate Candace. He says, well, I debate Candace, meaning not Nick Fuentes, but her. And I debate anyone that shows up to my events. You know, I've literally had a dozen cops drag me out of a Turning Point event for attending.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel, where we typically watch CNN so you don't have to, but we have to call out conservatives when they're acting a little suspicious. Today's question is similar to one we asked in a previous video, although none of you saw it. Charlie Kirk says he'll debate anyone, anytime, anywhere. But when Nick Fuentes' name is even uttered in Charlie Kirk's vicinity, the answer seems to change. In this video, you'll see Charlie Kirk shift the subject all over the place when questioned about Nick Fuentes in an event. You'll also see Nick Fuentes point out that every time he's tried to attend a Turning Point event, he's been given the boot. Let's listen to both of them, and you can make a determination as to who sounds more logical. Let's go.
Also, did you see Charlie Kirk reply to that video of the guy asking if he would debate me? I'll pull it up real quick. This is this young guy who pretended to be Jewish, and he asked Charlie Kirk about debating me. I'll play the clip, the relevant part. It's like 20 seconds.
Thank you for coming, Charlie. And I had a quick question about anti-Semitism online. Another question here they asked about Candace Owens, and you know, I'm a big fan of you. I was a big fan of her, but she's obviously been going down this anti-Semitic bent. And through her, I'm kind of finding out about these other characters online, like Nick Fuentes. I'm sure you've heard of him. And these people, they've been active for a long time, and it seems like they've just been ignored, which is working. But now they're kind of surging in popularity. And as someone who I enjoy watching your debates, are they people you'd be willing to engage with and maybe shut them down in a way through a debate or something like that?
Well, I mean, I'll debate Candace. But no, look, I'll debate anybody that shows up at our campus events first and foremost, but I do want to.
I love that, by the way. Well, I debate Candace. He says, well, I debate Candace, meaning not Nick Fuentes, but her. And I debate anyone that shows up to my events. You know, I've literally had a dozen cops drag me out of a Turning Point event for attending. I have tried to enter at least a half dozen Turning Point events, and I kid you not, within minutes, not an hour, not a half hour, within minutes of walking through the front door of a Turning Point event, I have had security identify me immediately, attempt to detain me, try to shove me, try to grab me, and I've been kicked out of every single one for 7 years. For literally 7 years. At Politicon, at Turning Point SAS, at America Fest, I mean, you name it. So he says, well, I debate Candace, I debate anyone that shows up to my events. Okay, trick question. You have banned me from your events. You have physically removed me from your events. But let's go on and let's hear some more of his answer.
Take what you say and extrapolate that there is a corner of the internet of people that want to point and blame the Jews for all their problems. Everybody, this is demonic and it's from the pit of hell, and it should not be tolerated. Period. But it goes to a structural problem of an entire generation that has economic resentment. They don't own anything. They're not getting married. They're not having children. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're staring at their screens all day long. And if all of a sudden your extrapolation of all that is, well, it's the Jews' fault, that is sloppy and shallow thinking. And not only that, they say, oh, it's the Jews' fault. Okay, let's kind of play this out. Well, tuberculosis, that used to kill about 1 billion people. You know, it's a group of Jewish scientists that came up with the antibiotic that cured tuberculosis. How about CPR, the MRI machine? You know, there's over 500 million lives that were saved over the last 50 years because of people that were Jewish scientists that were working on things. They'll never say thank you to the Jews, but they'll always say shame on the Jews. It's weird how that works. And finally, they always blame the Jews for stuff. Jewish people are an ethnicity. So therefore, definitionally, you have people that are secular, orthodox, religious, that are all over the spectrum. You're trying to blame an entire ethnicity for a singular problem. Hold on, let's take a step back here. Instead of that, what could you possibly do in your own personal life to improve your own state of being? If you are blaming 0.02% of the world's population for all of your problems, that is not going to be good for your soul. It's not good for your psychology. It's not good for your future. in any way, shape, or form. And so I would just say this, that any young person that goes into this hyper online brain rot, you are serving yourself over to your own demise. You are serving yourself into a suicide mission that will not make you happier and not make you healthier. Instead, here's what your attitude should be. Your attitude should be like, I can't own stuff, I got it, can't own a home, I'm not getting married, I don't know who to date. He said, wow, the challenges are immense. I'm gonna now overcome all those challenges and go on an adventure. I'm gonna prove everyone wrong. I'm now not gonna be a victim, I'm gonna be a victor. I'm gonna dig deep. This is still a great country. This is a free country. I'm going to use my agency. I'm going to use my ability. And I'm not just going to go point in the corner and be like, I'm overweight because of the Jews. Women don't want to date me because of the Jews. How about this? As Jordan Peterson would say, sit up straight with your shoulders back, follow the rules for life, make yourself interesting, learn something new every single day.
Okay, I think we get the point.
So those facts that Charlie laid out about Jewish individuals that have had an enormous impact on society, the world, humanity, I didn't know those, and those are amazing accomplishments. But acknowledging that, while they're not obscure in their impact, obviously, the achievements that he listed, aren't they kind of obscure facts for really anyone to know, other than folks that are in those fields, maybe? What he said was very interesting. I'm just saying, I don't think that's information a lot of people can just pull off the top of their head. I mean, Charlie just seems to be deflecting to me. Instead of engaging honestly, he's resorting to theatrics, calling Nick Fuentes a demon. It makes an unfunny joke about blaming Jewish people, as if to suggest that's Nick Fuentes' entire platform. Blame Jewish people for everything. I've seen a lot of his stuff, and he does talk about that in ways that I could understand people being offended. However, his platform wouldn't be continuing to grow if that was all he cared about. But if I take everything on the level, believe everything Charlie Kirk's saying, look at it from his point of view. If that's what he believes Nick Fuentes' entire platform is just hating Jewish people, wouldn't that be an amazing opportunity to elevate his status within the conservative movement even more by exposing this guy for the racist that he is? I know you guys will let me know what you think. Let's see how Nick responds.
Well, and you realize that this is the same argument that the left uses, which is if you identify a problem with a group of people, well, you're a bigot. If you say that black people are causing crime, immigrants are taking the jobs, they say, well, you're just blaming a whole group of people for your problems. Oh, the immigrants are why you can't get a job? Oh, the black people are why you can't get ahead in life? Isn't this no different than what Charlie Kirk accuses his own enemies of saying? You identify there's a group of people associated with a particular problem. Oh, well, you're a bigot. You're a hater. You're blaming them for all your problems. And by the way, I love this straw man. This is why he can't confront me, because you can say this when I'm not in the room. You can say this to your audience when you have an audience with a Jewish person, a Zionist, people that believe this propaganda. Nobody has ever said the problem is that I'm fat because of the Jews. I don't think anyone's ever said that. The problem is feminism is because of the Jews. Here's what we're saying, very simply. The Jews have influence over our society. This is why we're fighting a war with Iran, for example, right now. Can you name one other reason why we're in Iran? Trump wants to make a deal. Israel does not. Therefore, we're bombing Iran. Therefore, we're giving them weapons to bomb Iran. We're bombing Iran. Was there any other factor at play other than that Mark Levin and Ike Perlmutter met with the president? Was there any other factor at play other than Netanyahu lit the fuse and initiated the conflict? How about the war in Iraq? It was Israeli intelligence that said he had weapons of mass destruction. It was Zionist Jews, neocons inside the Pentagon that created all this intelligence, fabricated it, that years earlier said we needed to topple Saddam Hussein. And the message seems to be something like this. Any criticism of Jews cannot be tolerated because, well, you're just blaming Jews for your problems. Talking about Jewish influence, talking about any influence by the Jews that is negative, is blaming them for everything in totality. And there's a second message, which is interesting. It's sort of like mind your own business. You notice that they're pushing this a lot more now. They're saying, hey, don't talk about Jews. Focus on like housing. Don't worry about the ADL controlling censorship on Twitter. Don't worry about AIPAC controlling Congress. What does it have to do with you? What's it to you that AIPAC controls Congress? What's it to you that the ADL is creating censorship? What's it to you that Jewish billionaires like Miriam Adelson are bribing our politicians? What's it to you that Palantir is in Israel? That doesn't matter to you. You need to shut up and focus on, whatever's going on in your life. Have you noticed that? They really want white people to tap out of politics. They want white people to bury their head in their sand. They're saying, don't go to college. Don't go to college. Just get married, become an electrician, and, just worry about getting a house. Don't worry about what's going on in the Middle East. Don't worry about DC and politics. Don't worry about any of that. You just worry about what's going on in your neck of the woods.
If I'm being open-minded, Nick Fuentes makes an interesting point here. I don't know how accurate it is. He argues that Charlie Kirk wants young conservatives distracted. Don't go to college. Don't care about politics. Don't ask questions. And when Nick presses the question of Israel, Charlie, again, like I said, he's just looking inconsistent. And Nick points out that Charlie rails against identity politics in America and seems to practice it just when it comes to Israel. Again, whether you agree with Fuentes or not, his next question isn't crazy. Why are we bombing Iran? Why are we spending billions in military aid for another country's problem? I'm not here to say Nick Fuentes is right or wrong on the policy, but it's a question every American does have the right to ask. Charlie Kirk says he'll debate anyone, anytime, anywhere. But when it comes to Nick, we've seen, according to Nick, 7 years of dodging, deflecting, and dismissing instead of just having an honest exchange. And Nick's questions, whether you agree with them or not, aren't crazy. They're questions Americans have the right to ask. So when Charlie Kirk avoids them with insults and jokes, it just makes him look less like a leader and more like a liberal. But what do you guys think? Am I missing the mark? Do you think Charlie Kirk has, in fact, been consistent and I'm missing something? Or is Nick Fuentes right to call out the hypocrisy? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. I want to send a special thank you to Cynthia Alexander. Thank you so much for the super thanks. It made my day. No other announcements today. Don't ever forget to put God first. I'll see you guys.